Hey everybody, this is Dead Winter Dead, and this is Wolfenstein: The New Order. Made by Machine Games, released by Bethesda Softworks on May 20th, 2014. Now before we get into this first impressions video, I want to let you know that I was forced to use Fraps to record this in-game footage. There is something wrong with the NVIDIA GeForce Experience Shadowplay recording software. It does not register this game. It doesn't pick this game up. The only answer that I could find on the NVIDIA forums and the GeForce forums was that it had something to do with the engine that this game runs. Something about an OpenGL plug that GeForce Experience does not recognize. There may or may not be a patch. That may be complete BS, but that seemed to be the answer that came up the most when I was scouring the forums. Now, I was running this game at 60 frames per second. I was actually capped at 60 frames. I could go no higher than 60. I'm using two EVGA superclocked 3GB 780s in SLI. Now, as you know, the SLI profiles for new titles usually aren't written when the title is released. AMD and NVIDIA usually have to scramble. In the next couple of days, we will probably see a driver update that will include SLI profiles for this title. But regardless of whether or not the SLI profiles are ever put into the drivers, I don't expect this title to go any further than 60 frames per second. It seems to be hard capped at 60 FPS. Now, I know YouTube usually destroys the quality of video when you upload it, so you're probably going to see 30 frames per second at 1080p. I was actually running this on Ultra. My rig was able to run it on Ultra, and it looked decent. It wasn't a bad looking game, but it by no means, by no stretch of the imagination, is this game cutting edge as far as graphics. It's not going to completely blow your socks off like, say, Crysis did when it first came out. Now, I apologize, I forgot to mention this before. This is an alternate history game. Obviously, you know the franchise Wolfenstein deals with Nazis in World War II. I'm in the United States, and there is not any censorship as far as swastikas or any sort of Nazi imagery. So you will see Nazi imagery in this video. I know that countries like Germany and a few other countries actually have either banned the game outright, or there's a different symbol that's kind of replaced that replaces the swastika. But you will see swastikas, and you will see the double lightning bolts of SS officers and troopers and stuff like that. So if that offends anybody, I apologize, but it's part of the game, and we're looking at the US version of the game. Now, one of the first things that threw me for a loop was the incredible length of the intro mission / tutorial. Many of you who play single-player games know that usually the first mission, the first 5-10 minutes, whatever, are usually relegated to some sort of tutorial section. A section that's very difficult to lose, you almost can't die, and it teaches you the basics of the game. How to walk, how to run, how to crouch, how to throw grenades, how to fire your weapon, how to reload. Very, very simple tutorial type stuff. The intro mission for this game was ridiculously long. It was so long, in fact, that when the intro credits finally rolled, Bethesda Softworks presents, blah, 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 I had forgotten that I hadn't seen them. I was like, whoa, what's going on? I mean, it was like 30 minutes into the game. The other thing that was a little bit odd, well, I shouldn't say odd, it is a single-player story, was the sheer number of cutscenes and the length of the cutscenes. Now, you can obviously skip through the cutscenes, but I wanted to see the story, and I kind of wanted to see what was going on, just, because I'm interested in stuff like that. Everybody loves a good story, but the cutscenes were just ridiculous. There's a huge number of them, and I don't know, sometimes they just kind of went nowhere. I mean, they did progress the story a little bit further each time, but there did seem to be an inordinately large number of cutscenes that I think they could have actually just kind of shaved down just to get the story across. But I understand that they wanted to flesh this out and make this, a really thick, immersive story. Well, let's get on to the actual gameplay. As you can see here, we've got the very, very gimmicky dual wield. You can dual wield most weapons in the game. At this point in the game, I haven't really seen any super secret sci-fi Nazi weapons. just your typical assault rifles, submachine guns, pistols, silenced pistols, as well as knives. You can even dual wield the knives, which was kind of cool. Also, you do get to a point very early on. As a matter of fact, I reached that point during the tutorial where you can actually throw a knife. As you progress through the game, depending on if you're very aggressive or very sneaky, you gain these kind of perk points that are automatically put into a perk system. And one of those scout or stealth perk points is the ability to throw a knife. The problem with the knife throwing is the animation is so weak, and it doesn't matter where you hit the enemy. You can hit them in the toe, and it's a one-hit kill. They fall over dead. And that's kind of annoying. You would think that they might want to actually make it so that you had to sort of aim a little bit, at least get them in the neck or, you know, the chest at least. I mean, the difficulty involved in actually throwing a knife and penetrating, you know, chest armor as well as possibly bone and muscle and flesh to inflict a one-hit kill would be ridiculously, you know, immense. But, you know, it is a video game, and we have to expect some ridiculousness like that. Now, the AI was not too challenging. I tried it on various different levels. AI wasn't very challenging at all. Very, very typical kind of AI shooters on rails. I did try to kind of test it out where I wouldn't just kill the AI automatically. I would kind of get their attention and then move around these small areas to see if they would follow me. And for the most part, they did kind of follow me a little bit, try to get around me. They tried to find cover. They didn't really try to flank me. So the AI's intelligence doesn't really get exponentially better as you increase difficulty levels. It's just that your health and the enemy's health tends to separate. The higher levels you have less health, and on the higher levels the enemies are tougher to kill. Now this is one of the I assume many boss fights. This was kind of a cool little fight, but then again, nothing really groundbreaking. It was you know, pretty well done. You've got these two robots that come out of these cargo containers, and obviously they have weak spots, just like every boss fight in every video game since the beginning of time. You have to find these little weak spots and shoot them out before they actually are able to hunt you down and kill you. Now, while this was fun and mindless, it was very, very predictable and very just kind of ho-humish. Now, the other tiny gripe I have is the actual sound, the sound treatment of this game. The overall ambient sounds are fairly well done. The sounds during the cutscenes are fairly well done. The voice acting is very average video game voice acting. But the weapons are very papery, very thin sounding. They don't really have any weight or meat to them. You know, when you're dual wielding two assault rifles, you know you want that kind of chug. You want something heavy in your hands, and you just don't get that feeling. The firefights are you know, they're very kind of papery, and they're just kind of thin. You know, just very, very weak. And I was a little bit disappointed about that, especially for a shooter. I mean, if we were playing a game where shooting was secondary, I would expect them to maybe not put as much time into the shooting mechanics or into the sound effects. But this is an FPS, a first-person shooter, and to have weapons that sound like they're shooting cotton balls really, really just kind of ruined the immersion. They really should have upped the ante when it came to the sound design of the actual in-game firefights. Overall, I would have to say that I am slightly disappointed with this. Now, again, I've only got about 2 hours, 2 hours and 10 minutes, 2 hours and 20 minutes into the game, and I've been taking my time, and I've also replayed this level in particular. I replayed it 3 or 4 times to actually try different approaches and to see how the AI would react to me going in balls to the wall and me going in a little more stealthy. So the game could change. The game could absolutely do a 180, you know, 3 hours in or 4 hours in, and become this huge pile of fun that you just can't put down. But as of right now, it's a very, very average shooter. I'm not sure if it really lives up to the legacy of Wolfenstein, but then again, for those of us that played Wolfenstein when it was a new game, I know there are plenty of people that have played it. They've gone back and played it years after its release, but for those of us who played it, older gamers, we tend to look at older games, you know, through these kind of nostalgia glasses. You know, everything you did, you know, last year was better than this year. Everything you did the year before that was better than last year. And that's just the way we tend to look at things. And this is a very, very typical shooter. Even if it didn't have Wolfenstein name on it, it would still be a very, very typical, very average shooter from what I've seen so far. Now granted, this is first impressions. And what you're looking at right here is one of the many cutscenes, and the cutscenes are very beautifully rendered. There's a lot of great art direction, but there are just so many of them. It starts to get old after a little while. So, do I recommend Wolfenstein? Well, if you are a huge fan of Nazis or shooters or even just the Wolfenstein franchise, you just want to play something with Wolfenstein on it, go ahead and pick this up. It cost me $60 on Steam. I'm not sure how much it costs in different regions or different areas, but it was a $60 game, so I'm going to get $60 out of it. I'm going to play it, I'm going to finish it, and I'm going to see what the replay value is. I'm one of those people that when I spend the money, I have to see it all the way through, regardless of if the game is terrible or if it is excellent. Do I recommend you get it? It may be something that you might want to pick up in a couple months when it goes on sale, unless you just absolutely have nothing else to play. But overall, very, very typical, very average, not bad, not a bad game so far, but not groundbreaking. Didn't blow my socks off, didn't blow my mind, and I think it's going to be one of those titles that just kind of comes and goes. It's definitely not going to be a Game of the Year contender, but still mindless video game fun. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this first impression of Wolfenstein: The New Order. If you're interested, go ahead and check out some other videos on YouTube on it, or slap down the cash, get it yourself, dive in, and kill some Nazis. My name's Dead Winter Dead. Thanks for watching.